A and I were home all day yesterday, and it was really nice. We watched 2 episodes of Fear Rivalry.
2? Wow.
2.
Big day.
Big day. So we're on episode 5 now. We're going to start episode 5 tonight.
Nice.
We watched a documentary. I did
What'd you
some
watch?
Edie and Thea. Do you know who Edie Windsor is?
No.
She was a very famous lesbian rights advocate, and she was in that Supreme Court case, Windsor versus United States, because her partner, who she was legally married to in Canada and was recognized in the state of New York, her partner died in 2009, so before gay marriage was legal in the U.S. But because it wasn't recognized federally, she wasn't able to get, like, the estate. Or she was able to get the estate and whatnot, but she had to pay federal tax on it, like over $300,000.
Like as if it was an inheritance
Yeah,
versus...
like a spousal deduction. So she sued, and she won.
Nice.
Because they were like, the Defense of Marriage Act is unconstitutional. So work Edie, you rock. But I thought the documentary was going to be about that, but it's literally just about their love. And this was before her partner died. And it was like how they met and life in New York in the 50s and 60s. It was really sweet. It's on Amazon Prime and Tubi, if you guys are interested.
Shout out to Tubi. People really make fun of Tubi, but it is free.
It's just, there's so many stupid names. Do you know that meme that's like, it's literally on Booby?
Yes. That's my whole job, is being like, guys, it's on Booby.
It's on Fubo.
Fubo is
Fubo's
real.
real. And
I work with
Mubi.
Fubo. Shout out to Fubo. Yeah, when
Fubo, Mubi,
Die My
Tubi.
Love is literally streaming on Mubi, guys.
It's fake. It's so insane.
It is fake. Oh, I wanted to bring up in the last episode, we were talking a lot about Emmett fixing up the bike with his dad. And I just missed an opportunity to acknowledge the Twilight parallels there. Because Jacob Black builds motorcycles in New Moon.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's all.
Cool.
Just wanted to talk about it.
And they're going to build another motorcycle.
Yeah, it's relevant in this episode. So, and I want to celebrate that we are halfway through season 1.
Oh my God. Huge.
So exciting.
Speaking of the episode, you want to start? We are now on season 1, episode 15, titled Expulsion from the Garden of Eden, which aired January 31st, 2012. The first painting that came up for me was a fresco by Masaccio. It's,
Masaccio?
yeah,
Okay.
it's
Yeah,
interesting. It's kind of blurry.
Oh, yeah. They loved this style. Back in the day. You know what I mean?
Early Italian Renaissance day.
Yeah.
I think Adam and Eve look a little scary. Eve looks terrifying. Eve has like a
This
really
one's better.
blurry...
I like this one better.
Ooh, that's cool. By Thomas Cole.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
I kind of like that back then they were just like, well, this is the name of the painting category. You guys all do it.
Like the creation of Adam or anything biblical.
You know, I don't really know about that stuff.
This is one of those paintings that is relevant to this episode, though.
How so?
Well-
Explain it to me like I'm 5.
So Adam and Eve were expelled from the Garden of Eden because they were tempted by Satan and they ate the apple. And it's
Oh
supposed
my god, are Regina and Angelo Adam and Eve?
I think it's mainly about Angelo because it's about like the fall of man. It's kind of like a transition from innocence to disobedience. And this whole episode is like about, I would say it's mainly about Angelo and them finding out that he is a disobedient man, a fugitive.
True.
And then he's literally expelled at the end.
Wow. Plus, I think there's a second layer to this one
Go on.
because this is the episode where Emmett moves from his mom's house to his father's house.
Yes.
And his father clearly represents a more hedonistic lifestyle because of the bong and the girlfriend who's like constantly making sex jokes
and skipping school.
and skipping school and is like supportive of Bay and Emmett's sex life that doesn't exist yet.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like Bay is really freaked out by that, but it's kind of like
It's the opposite of
Emmett-
Melody.
Emmett ate the apple.
He committed a crime and he ate the apple.
Yeah.
Well, the episode starts off with Bay helping Emmett move into his dad's apartment.
Yeah.
And we meet Dad.
Yeah, and she looks so cute. I
Bay
really
does look
liked
cute.
her outfit and like her ponytail.
She has a cute little curly ponytail. She's carrying a laundry basket full of things that don't look heavy.
Yeah, I'm sorry I cut your ponytail journey out of our last episode
That's totally fine.
just because I felt that you wouldn't want it. But I do feel like we got some positive, curly, cute ponytail representation right away in this episode.
She has such beautiful hair, but that's only because hair and makeup worked on it for like 4 hours.
I think that is just what Vanessa Morano's hair looks like.
But we meet Emmett's dad,
Yeah.
who is played by Anthony Natale. He was in Jerry Maguire, and then he was also in Mr. Holland's Opus, a movie that I hate. He was also the ASL coach for the show, which I think I mentioned.
Oh, yeah.
He was like the ASL coach for the show.
Cool.
And then I read online also that when Daphne was watching Jeffenstein, like many episodes back, he was playing Jeffenstein.
Oh my god. Aw.
So-
I really like that they were clearly just looking for ways to include him.
Yeah, I bet they were like, well, we need someone to play Cameron. How about you, Anthony? So we're going to see him for a bit, but welcome to the show. Happy to see you. He's very friendly,
Very friendly.
touchy. I think I'd be freaked out.
I don't feel like I was freaked out until Emmett seemed freaked out.
Sure.
Like, I thought, I was like, oh, it's so nice. It's such a counter to how Melody is.
Yeah,
And
that's
like,
true.
how beautiful is that? And then he's also slowed down his signing quite a bit for Bae, which is, again, so nice. Like, Bae catches everything he's saying, but he's going quite slow. But he says very slowly, like, wow, you're gorgeous.
Mm-hmm.
And Emmett is like, stop.
Settle down.
Yeah.
Yeah, he gives Bae a big kiss on the head. And she's like, oh, I just met you. Okay, sure. And then they're talking about moving, and they're saying, oh, we had to park really far because someone who has a really small penis parked their blue convertible poorly
Yeah.
and took up 2 spots, I guess.
Oh, do you think Bae was just emboldened by the hug to be like, I'm going to be so myself. I'm going to show that I just learned the sign for small penis.
I think she was like, well, he's not a regular dad. He's a cool dad.
Yeah.
So I feel fine to sign penis in front of him.
Bae does love also to just like say the wrong thing at the wrong time. It goes over quite well in this situation.
It does.
But I think this is the only situation where that would be possible.
Also, some Kamala because Bae is speaking English at the same time in front of 2 fully deaf people.
Yeah.
But it's okay because a hard of hearing person enters the picture.
Which she didn't know.
But she know.
She's very surprised.
Yeah, a woman comes in and it's Cameron's much younger girlfriend, Olivia.
Okay, multiple people in the episode also comment on the fact that she's much younger. I thought she looked the same age as Cameron. Clearly, I'm in the wrong because it's in the script that she's much younger.
Yes.
But I did not clock that.
Maybe the
Cameron looks young to me. I was just like,
maybe the actor herself is not that young.
mm-hmm.
But she's
like,
supposed
she just had a cool haircut.
Yeah, but it's such a divorced dad thing to like get
To get the younger girlfriend, totally.
Yeah. Anyway, she comes in and she's like, that blue convertible's mine. Don't worry about it. I'm not offended. She's speaking. And then Bae is a little confused and asks if she's hearing. She says, no, girl, hard of hearing. Started losing my hearing in high school.
Among other things.
Among other things, she's promiscuous, guys.
She's like so promiscuous with these teenagers. It's very weird.
She's getting ahead of herself. It's a lot.
Ahead of herself. I don't think she should get there to
And
begin
get
with,
anywhere.
ever.
You're right. But anyways, Olivia is played by T.L. Forsberg, who is actually hard of hearing in real life. Thank God. She was also in that documentary, See What I'm Saying, which was like that documentary about deaf actors that Daphne had a poster of many episodes back. She's in that documentary.
Wait, that's kind of meta.
It is, isn't it?
That's so funny.
Yeah, I thought it was a nice touch.
But do her and Daphne ever meet? Could it canonically? But she's like not playing herself, right?
No.
Oh.
That'd be so funny if Daphne was like, you look so familiar.
Yeah.
I can't put my finger on it. And then I looked at T.L. Forsberg's website. She hasn't done anything since Switched at Birth, really. Or nothing TV-wise. She mainly does plays. But she also works as a creativity doula now. Which basically is kind of just like a strategist to help people with like their plays and writing and whatnot.
Sure.
She works with artists to birth their stories, their story magic to the world.
Okay.
I think the actor is very much in line with this character. I feel like she didn't have to do that much acting. She's
Yeah,
kind of
maybe
herself.
She is kind of playing herself.
Yeah, looking at the website, I was like, this is just her.
Guys, I was homeschooled, but I think creativity doula might be a step too far for me.
It was a lot. The website's
Sorry,
insane.
this woman.
Sorry to TL. But again, some weird sexual innuendos. She's very laid back.
She's a cool girl, and then she says, "Oh, you can put the boxes over there." And Bae sets them down and notices a gigantic bong.
This is the biggest bong I've ever seen.
Which, okay, even at the time, I remember being like, why is Bae freaking out when I was watching this in real time? Now I understand as an adult that outside of Southern California, that was not normal to have in your house.
Leia says it's the size of the Space Needle, and she's correct.
It's quite big.
It's,
I've never had a bong that big.
no, it's insane.
And then cut to Angelo and Regina are fucking.
Well, they're not fucking, they're in
not
bed together.
actively, but they just were. They're post-coitus.
Post-coitus.
Is that the right?
Coitus, yeah.
Coitus or coital?
Coital. No, post-coitus.
Post-coitus.
They're in bed post-coitus.
Yeah.
And apparently they've been in the apartment all day, fucking all day, because it's 4 p.m. now. And Regina needs to go home.
And you know what? We get to see a lot of Angelo this episode, and I understand.
Abs.
Yeah. They're crazy.
Yeah. My God. This and he rivalry is so many shirtless men these past 2 days. But she was like, Daphne can't find out about this, so she runs out of the apartment. And then we're at the Kenish house. John and Catherine are with Craig the lawyer.
Craig Tebby. They say his full name.
It's a fun name.
That's the kind of name you have to say the full name every time.
Craig Tebby.
Craig Tebby. There's some people like that. It's like Joseph Gordon-Levitt. You're never going to just be like, that's Joseph.
Craig Tebby. A trial date has been set. Yay.
Did Catherine change her bangs? They look good in this episode.
I did not know this.
Her hair looks quite good.
Good job.
Yeah, he hires a PI.
He finds the name of a PI that the hospital is using to dig up information on John and Catherine. And then Craig is like, well, I'm going to use that same PI to dig up information on you as well. So there's no surprises when the trial starts.
And then Wilkie and Daphne are taking a joyride on a golf course. They're on their first date.
Driving very fast.
Yeah, Daphne crashes them into a sand trap.
Yeah, he says, watch out for the sand trap, but it's dark and she can't hear him. She falls into the sand trap and Wilkie flies out of the golf cart. This is obviously a stuntman, but he like tumbles out.
Yeah.
And Daphne, instead of saying, are you okay, starts laughing.
Yeah.
I guess.
Wilkie. But then he's like, I have a bad back. And I just wrote romantic scoliosis moment.
Daphne says, but boys can't get it. Newsflash, they can. Girls are just like 7 to 10 times more likely to have scoliosis, but boys can get scoliosis.
God, Daphne, you know what they say about assuming.
Make an ass out of you and me. Exactly.
Yeah, she's really like mean to him about it for a second, and then she's like, oh no.
Oh, I'm sorry I bullied you a little bit.
And then they make out.
Yeah, she loves this story. I really like that he was like, you thought my life was just one giant keg stand. He's not like other boys. He has scoliosis.
And he's so cute on this date. It would work on me. Daphne is wearing a thick peach quarter sleeve cardigan with a floral tank top underneath it, cuffed above the ankle jeans and blue Keds.
And blue what?
Keds.
Oh my God.
Remember Keds?
Oh, yeah. Never wore them.
Me either.
They made my feet look so tiny.
They're just like nothing shoes. I like a really like ugly shoe in like a statement making way, not in a ugly out of necessity to be like minimalistic sneaker way.
I think we need Daphne out of the pinks and oranges.
Yeah, I would love.
Well, later she wears like a blue V-neck for the rest of the episode, which is fine, I guess.
I didn't like that one.
Me neither.
But she does look much better. The bright blue is much better on her. Yeah, they make out in the sand trap, and that's hot.
Yeah. Now we're at the farmer's market, and Catherine is there smelling some fennel. I don't like fennel. But she spots Angelo there, and she's immediately like, oh no, I need to avoid him.
I half believe she was gonna like duck under the booth. She really wanted to get out of there. And he sees her, and he's like so excited. His whole face lights up.
He goes, hey! And he says, what are you making? And she says risotto. And then he offers some unsolicited advice and says, you should add some pastis, which I Googled, and it's just like an anise flavored spirit, which to me sounds really, really strong to add both an anise spirit and fennel. I think I just don't like fennel that much, so I'm like, that sounds insane. That's a licorice risotto.
Oh, yeah, that does sound bad.
And she's not interested in this. Yeah.
She's like, well, it's a family recipe. I can't mess with it. And he's like, oh, your grandmother was Italian?
Yeah, and then apparently their ancestors were from a town close to one another in Italy. And Catherine finally turns around, because she was facing away from him this whole conversation.
Yeah.
She finally turns around, looks at him, and goes, oh my God, your eyes really remind me of Bae's.
And his whole face lights up again. That makes him so happy.
She has like a soft spot for him.
Yeah, I think Have they, like, encountered each other a lot before now? Not really, right?
Not really. Well, this is definitely the first time they've been one-on-one.
So, yeah, she's charmed a little by him, and also she warms to him a little.
She does. Now we're at the car wash, and I guess Daphne is working there now?
Yeah, I think it happened off screen, and they decided that was maybe, like, her punishment for the hearing aid thing.
Oh.
I just assumed that would be, like, mentioned.
Because it doesn't say she needs money or anything or just wants a job.
It
Now,
doesn't make any sense, really.
well, now she's working at the car wash. John gives her some paperwork. He leaves the room, and then a very pretty lady comes into the workplace. And
Yeah.
it's Sarah Lazar, who has been mentioned many episodes ago when the old lawyer was doing a fake deposition with John and Catherine.
Yes, and she brought up Sarah.
And John and Catherine were testy about that, but they didn't explain why. And we still don't know why. But Daphne is very skeptical about the Sarah Lazar girl.
Yeah, right away. And then John makes it worse by being like, "Can you give us some time?" And kicks her out of the office, basically.
Now we're at Regina's place, and Catherine comes in to tell Regina that, by the way, I ran into Angelo. And Regina immediately is on the defensive.
Okay, if you're guilty, do not immediately say, "What did he say?"
What'd he say? We're not dating.
Like,
I can't prevent him from buying fruits and vegetables.
just be chill.
Just be normal
Just be
about
normal.
it. She is panicking. This reminds me of the time when she was trying to hide the guitar case and she could not fit the guitar.
Yes.
She can't be chill about anything.
No.
Also, Regina, this bothers me. They always put her in exercise clothes. She's always wearing like a Lululemon zip up.
Yeah, but we never see her work out.
Never. And also, she's like an artsy mom. I
Yeah.
expect her to dress more like Olivia, the girlfriend.
Yes, totally.
She's got like an artsy spiritual side, kind of.
And
Free spirit.
Similar to the way they're always putting Daphne in orange, they're always putting Regina in like a royal purple.
She looks nice in purple, though.
She does. I'm just like,
Why?
let's mix it up a little.
I know. Yeah, she's wearing skin-tight exercise clothes. For what? I don't know. Anyways, Catherine comes in, and she's like, I have an idea. What if we invite Angelo to dinner? And Regina's like, okay, let me check in with Daphne. And Catherine says, let me check in with John.
I feel like they could have started with like coffee. Dinner feels like big.
That's true. And she's going to cook for all of them. No one's going to help her.
Also, it's happening immediately. That was
It's
my
like the
other-
next day.
Yeah,
Well, yeah, that's how the show works.
I know.
God forbid they wait a week.
God forbid they just do a time jump.
I know. Then Daphne goes to see Toby in his garage to ask about the situation with Sarah Lazar.
Yes, and she has changed her shirt here. She's wearing this green striped top, and the colors are much better on her.
Okay.
But the neckline has like an accumulation of bonus fabric, almost like it should be a mock neck, but it's not.
Interesting.
Like rolled down and clustered
Okay, I know what you're
very
talking about.
modestly at her collarbones, and I hate it. So, and a long statement necklace that comes down to like her belly button.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. She asked Toby about Sarah Lazar, and he says, oh, she's like a news reporter for the Kansas City Herald, and immediately gets defensive about it. He just goes, well, there's bound to be some rumors. I don't know what you've heard, but it's not true.
He's kind of mean to her about it.
Gets extremely defensive, does not want to hear anything Daphne has to say, and he kind of just leaves.
Mm-hmm.
So, don't know what that's about. We're back at Cameron's house. Bay has been helping Emmett move in the whole time. Very nice girlfriend.
Mm-hmm.
And they're talking about decorating, and Emmett wants to turn a selfie of them into wallpaper.
Do you think that was like exciting new technology that had just come out?
Maybe.
It felt so random.
It reminds me, did you ever see those commercials? You could get wallpaper, like life-size wallpaper of like a football player. Like the figureheads.
No.
Anyways,
I don't think I would have been the audience for that.
they're talking about decorating and whatnot, but then, oh, also, Bay is sim coming to Emmett. Again, please stop. But then Olivia comes in, and she sees Bay's art, and she really admires it. And she asks to buy it, and then takes it on the spot. So she's supportive of Bay's art in a way that Melody, I don't think, was.
No.
So that's another difference. And then she's like, by the way, you are welcome to stay overnight because I'm not a regular mom. I'm a cool mom. I'm a stepmom-ish.
So does she live there?
Yes.
How long have Cameron and Melody been?
They have not shared.
Because Melody tells... Hold on, let's do a timeline check. Melody tells Emmett, tells Regina that her and Cameron are splitting. in
This
like
is-
episode 3 before she tells Emmett.
Yes.
And
This is episode 15.
15. So like 6 months max.
Are they fully divorced?
No,
Divorced?
they're separated.
They're not fully divorced yet.
Well, maybe they are because
But divorces take longer than 6 months, don't they?
divorces. Well, I think it depends on
It
the type of
depends.
divorce and like how long you've been married, etc. But Melody does make some comment like the divorce cost a lot of money, so maybe
Right.
it is done. But even if it's done, 6 months is like pushing it. Like I want to say it's more like 4.
It feels like 3 or 4.
Yeah.
Well, he's moved on very fast from
Yeah.
Melody to Olivia. Anyways, Olivia's like, you are welcome to stay overnight. Please have sex in my house.
Please have sex in my
Please.
house. Oh my god, I would love it.
And Bay's kind of weirded out. And then, how'd you feel about that?
About which part?
When she was like, please have sex in my house. I'd much rather you do it here than like the back of a car.
Yeah, the way she says it is like, you're welcome to stay over. You know, a bed is a lot more comfortable than a back seat.
Right.
And that's what she says before she leaves. I think if she wanted to make that, first of all, I don't think she should be the one making that statement, because even if it is half her house, not her kid,
It is not her child. That's true.
so it's odd. But I guess the assumption is that she's communicating as the mouthpiece for her and Cameron. So even, let's just say that. Let's say Cameron's on board,
Fine.
whatever.
Okay.
I feel like maybe a conversation could have been like, hey, we want to be supportive of your relationship. We don't want you to feel like you have to hide anything from us, I guess.
I just think this
Like-
would have been a great conversation to have maybe like a few days or a few weeks later. Maybe
Sure.
not like a few minutes after meeting Bay.
Cameron must know that part of the reason Emmett is moving out of Melody's is that she is not supportive about this relationship.
Right.
So maybe he's just like, let me get right out in front of it. You don't have to sneak around or lie or like hide anything.
Right. And I think they're also assuming that they're probably having sex because they're
Yeah.
16. And then Bay's,
Bay is very freaked out by this. I was kind of like surprised by that. Also because she was like seconds away from sleeping with Ty after knowing him for 2 weeks.
but it seems like she and Emma have never talked about it.
Which I guess, you know, she barely speaks the language.
Yeah, how can they have a full talk about intimacy and consent and whatnot?
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah.
But it's funny how freaked out she gets.
If you had a child who was 16, would you let their partner stay over?
It would probably depend on the partner and like if I felt that the relationship was healthy, but yeah, I would support them.
I think I would too. I
I-
think I would have them ask me instead of me being like, and here's the bedroom for you to fuck on.
Right. Just for the pure reason that like it's kind of gross to do that.
And again,
Yeah.
this is the girlfriend. I know you said she's the mouthpiece for Cameron, but I'm like, who are you to say that? Now we're back at the Kenish house, and John is complaining because Craig Tebby apparently emailed him, true dad. Which is kind of funny.
That is so unprofessional.
It is. Not to be a boomer, but I was like, that's crazy.
Yeah. Also, before he asks about the email, he comes into the kitchen and Catherine is reaching for a bowl on a high shelf and he narrates himself going to pick up the bowl for her like he's a sports broadcaster, and I hated it.
I thought it was cute. Anyway, Catherine is wearing her classic squirrel apron.
Love.
Beautiful. And then she tells John that she wants to invite Angelo for
Yes,
dinner.
but the way she does it is so funny. She's like, I'm thinking about what I should make tonight. Maybe Italian, maybe French, maybe both. Whatever you want. And she's like, well, what I want is for Angelo, who's Italian and French, to come over for dinner.
It's so strange. And he's like,
I guess.
yeah.
Damn.
And then cut to the next scene. Regina asks Daphne the exact same thing. And Daphne is like, yeah, sure, whatever.
Yeah, but what she says is, if John and Catherine can survive a dinner with Angelo, then so can I. John and Catherine don't have any history or beef with Angelo the way Daphne does.
I think she's also just in a good mood because she just made out with Wilkie.
True. She's come so far.
She has. But Adriana is in the back, arms crossed.
They brought Adriana back just for this episode. I
So
feel
she
like
can brood
she's
in the
been
background.
So irrelevant lately. And they said, background of every scene, Adriana looking disapprovingly.
Nah, she's like shaking her finger,
Yeah,
wagging
literally.
her finger. And Daphne leaves the room and she immediately is like, he has an agenda. Also, you guys are sleeping together and I know it.
Yeah. And Regina doesn't even try to lie, for the record.
No. Well, her mom knows her.
She just like freezes, turns around, goes,
Yep.
and what? It's like that Rick and Morty clip. So what if he's the devil? You haven't seen that?
Why would I look at a Rick and Morty clip?
Rick and Morty is a good show.
Sorry, I've never seen it.
I know that men like it in a way that sucks. Don't let men ruin it.
Okay, I'll allow it because you're not a man.
It's pretty tight writing. But
Okay.
there's an episode where Summer, the older teen sister, is like complaining that there are no good boys around.
Mhm.
And then she meets the devil and she
Right.
starts dating him knowing he's the devil. And her grandpa is like, you can't date him. He's the devil. And she's like, so what? So what if he's the devil, Rick? At least the devil has a job.
Well, in this case, Angelo doesn't even have a job.
No,
he's
Angela
worse.
is unemployed.
He's worse than the devil. Now
Yeah.
we're at Buckner.
Oh yeah, Daphne finds out that Wilkie takes every girl to the golf course. Also, Daphne, love you girl, but you look so dorky, like describing the date. She's like, he was so romantic. Like, it's so, I hated it.
Right. Now we're back at Cameron's. Emmett and Bay are parked outside.
Yeah, they are spending a lot of time now, like immediately at Cameron's place.
Maybe Emmett just has so much stuff to move. I don't know.
I think maybe it's just like they finally have a place where no one's gonna bother them,
Yeah, that's true.
which is quite nice.
Yeah. They're parked outside, and Bay says, I think Olivia thinks they were sleeping together. And then she says, but by the way, I'm a virgin. But instead of virgin, she accidentally signs vegetable.
The signs are quite similar in her
Yeah.
defense.
So, teacher moment. Vegetable is V and is shaking against your cheek, but virgin goes from the top of your head to down to the bottom
It's
of
like
your head.
almost like the sign for death with a V.
Yeah, basically. And then Emmett drops that he's not a virgin.
No, and they have this whole conversation using food metaphors, which I hate.
Yeah, that's fair. She goes, did you have sex with? And he immediately interrupts and says, no.
But that he doesn't peel and tell.
Ha ha.
Ugh.
Yeah. Now we are at Angelo's apartment, and he answers a phone call in Italian. And the only thing we really find out here is that he has a false passport, and that
Which
they,
is super illegal.
yes,
People are not focusing on that part enough. That
no,
part's crazy. Like, he very casually later on is like, well, I needed a different name for my work visa.
Why'd
Like,
you have to?
can't just put a different name on your
No,
government documents, right?
but I think because the PI is now digging into him, I think
It raised some flags.
it raised some flags with whoever his friend is, and then they called him, and then he yelled in Italian. So there's that. We're at the car wash now. Wilkie comes in to see Daphne, and he's like, hey, do you want to go on date number 2? And Daphne's like, oh, are we going to do the same dates that you do with everyone else?
He makes his case worse because she knows that he takes girls to World of Fun next. And
And
he
he
goes, oh, there's a new roller coaster at World of Fun.
And he's like, there's only so much we can do.
Right. She's like, and what, we're going to hook up on the Gravitron? How would you hook up on the Gravitron? Isn't that the one that spins you?
And you're stuck to the wall.
And you're stuck to the, oh, I guess you'd be stuck to each other.
Oh, yeah, she can go on top of him.
Okay. That could be fun.
That could be.
Aw, kind of romantic.
Yeah.
Okay, see, like, why is she, what is there to fucking do in Kansas City?
Yeah, that's true.
And that's what he says. He's like, I've been out with a lot of girls. There's only so many good dates to take them on. Sorry for hitting the classics. And she kind of slut shames him.
Yeah, she does. Not nice. Then Emmett and Bay are making out on the couch at Cameron's. I hope Cameron and Olivia aren't there.
Yeah, they're just like making out in the living room.
In the living room
Very
couch.
bold.
And Emmett drops, oh, by the way, I skipped school today to go to the salvage yard to hunt for motorcycle parts with my dad.
Yeah, but he doesn't drop it unprompted. They're kissing and she pulls her hand back from his neck and she has like a single speck of grease paint perfectly on her finger. And there's
Right.
none on him. And he's like, oh yeah, it's from the junkyard.
And she goes, Junkyard, what are you talking about? And then he goes,
Like, at least make him a little dirty if you're
I
going to say
know.
that's the story.
it's just, yeah, I guess it was behind his ear or something. Very
How did
strange.
it get there?
It's for the story. It's for him to say, Dad wrote me a note to skip school. And Bay is weirded out by that. I think I would be too.
Yeah, especially because he's still failing
He's
Trig.
failing school. You play hooky, but at least you were doing well.
Yeah, I really cared about my grades. I
Yeah.
just did not want to physically be there.
Yeah, but he is failing, and that's worrying. Very much the opposite of Melody. How
Yeah.
were she and Cameron ever together?
Clearly, he's going through some midlife crisis stuff.
That's true.
Maybe he was different before this. Bay invites Emmett to dinner.
And he says no.
He says no. In his defense, she's like, this really important dinner is happening. It's tonight.
But he goes, We're hunting for a motorcycle at the salvage, not a motorcycle, an engine at the salvage yard.
Yeah.
You can do that any other time.
I feel in my heart of hearts that he just doesn't want to go to what he is positive is going to be a disastrous dinner where
Right.
8 out of the 10 people there don't sign.
That is very fair.
If there's going to be drama and he can't even know what it is, like, why does he need to be there? But also, if he was being a good friend, he would go because Daphne is also going to be there. But I guess Daphne didn't ask him to go. I don't know. I did think it was kind of shitty on his part. But then,
I did not like that. I think he should have went.
Yeah.
But he says, I'm going to look for an engine, but you can come stay over after.
Yeah, you can come so we can have sex afterwards. I don't want to go support you, but afterwards we can have sex.
Yeah, and Bay's like...
That's so 16 to be like, you know when I should lose my virginity is after this super dramatic family dinner.
Absolutely.
Perfect.
Great timing. We're at the Kennish house now, and Toby and Catherine are covering their ears because the house alarm just went off.
Yeah.
And Catherine doesn't know the code to shut it off.
And Toby has a book that is clearly like written about John's career.
They're trying to figure out the code. They're like, maybe it's the RBI stats, maybe it's the on-base percentage.
I just love the concept of like flipping through your dad's biography to be like, what is the clue?
Yeah. And then Catherine's on the phone and she says, we're all gonna go deaf here.
And Toby does say, Mom. And she goes, oh.
Oh, silly me. Now at the car wash, Catherine is looking for John because she's like, hey, the house alarm is going off. What is the goddamn code? But he is nowhere to be found. One of the employees asks Daphne. Daphne doesn't know. But then Daphne looks at his calendar and she sees that he has like a 12 o'clock at a cafe. So she decides to go and spy on him. And he is at this cafe with Sarah Lazar.
And they don't look cozy, but they do look friendly.
They're having a friendly chat. Don't know what it's about yet. But Daphne's not happy, and she angrily walks away.
And then Toby and Wilkie are rehearsing.
They're jamming.
In the garage, and Wilkie asks Toby for a favor, and we get another capybara mention.
I told you, if you got a rush from the capybara, that's your problem. I wrote that word for word. I love that.
They wanted to stretch that bit. But Wilkie's like, no, man, I need your help with Daphne.
I like your sister.
Yeah, she thinks I'm this huge man slut. And Toby's like, and? But I feel bad for Wilkie. He keeps saying, like, no,
I really like her.
I'm genuinely interested in her.
And Toby really does not believe him.
Mm-mm.
No.
Or, like, care about the outcome of this. I don't feel like they're very good friends to each other.
Daphne, after going to the cafe, comes home and sees Regina, and it's Simcom time. She asks Regina, do you think that John would have an affair? And Regina is like, I don't know, but you should stay out of it.
Yeah.
Which I think is correct.
Me too, but I was kind of surprised that that's what she said.
Because she's also hiding that she's seeing Angelo. So I think,
do you think that was
she's
her
speaking for herself.
For being like, it's not your business.
It's not your business, stay out of it.
Yeah, but it kind of is Daphne's business who Regina is sleeping with in this case.
That is true.
But
she's being very defensive, though.
I think she does say, like, even if John is having an affair, it doesn't mean he doesn't love Catherine, and, like, there could be more going on there than you know about.
Yeah.
Which I think is true.
It's true. She was just like, there's so much more. It's not black and white.
Yeah. This does not comfort Daphne at all, by the way.
No. She's still going to go on the hunt later.
And then downstairs, Angelo has gotten to dinner early.
Yeah, and he sees Bay in her art studio while she's quickly trying to put condoms in her red purse.
Do you think she just, like, went out and got those immediately afterwards? Also, why did she buy them? The man should buy the condoms.
I think they should both have them.
But, like, I feel that the man should buy them.
Right, it's for him.
Yeah.
Sure. But extremely awkward to be shoving condoms into your purse when your biological father walks in.
He doesn't see that, right?
No, but he's, like, about to. And she frantically, like, shoves them into her bag.
Bad timing, Bay. Maybe because this is not a good night for you to have sex for the first time.
No.
And then Angelo's like, I want to meet your boyfriend. I want to know that his intentions with my daughter are honorable.
And she goes, they're honorable-ish.
I hate this.
I hate that thing.
Why? I hate it when any father is acting like that, but especially Angelo, who isn't even really a father figure yet.
It's been like 2 weeks.
Yeah, he does not know her enough to be like, I'm concerned about, quote, your honor.
You don't even know sign. What are you going to talk to Emma about?
Right.
That
I
drove
don't,
me
I don't
crazy.
think he even knows that Emmett is deaf.
He doesn't. It drove me crazy.
It's just like weird patriarchal bullshit.
I hate that shit. Yeah, you're right. He and John are dressed very nice. They're wearing a button up and a suit for this dinner.
Yeah.
Yeah.
High stakes.
Anyways, it's dinner time. We're gonna eat that fennel risotto now.
They're all sat, and then Daphne and Adriana walk in and make a very dramatic entrance.
Adriana, again, is doing the scowling face and like the wagging the finger. Like,
Yeah.
I don't want to be here.
She is pissed.
Mm-hmm.
And Daphne's like,
She's being polite.
she's being very polite.
She's just sitting down, eating her bread. Whatever.
Oh, John and Catherine have the most white country club couple exchange where she's like, well, I called you at the club earlier because I couldn't figure out the code and they said you weren't there. And he's like, well, I didn't check in at the front desk because I didn't want to talk to the caddy for 30 minutes about how I need to invest in his business opportunity.
And Daphne's in there knowing he is fully lying.
Right. But also just like, we don't actually see them be like John and Catherine Kennish that often, but it really popped out at the dinner table.
It really did. The class really popped out with that conversation. Everyone's saying this risotto is fantastic, and she says, thank you. I listened to Angelo and add the pastis.
And he gives her a little wink.
He
A
does.
cheeky little wink.
And then the phone rings. Wonder what that's about. Toby answers, and it's Craig Tebby, and he wants to speak to specifically Catherine.
John starts to get up.
And he goes, no. This is for Catherine. Gives the phone to Catherine. Catherine leaves the room. Also, I noticed Angelo refused to drink, I guess in solidarity with Regina
Yeah.
at the table.
Ally.
Ally. And Craig Tebby says, Catherine, Angelo's a fugitive.
That's exactly how I feel that he said it too.
Angelo's a fugitive.
We don't
There's a
hear-
warrant out for his arrest in Italy.
We don't actually hear him say anything.
We don't.
But I do feel spiritually that that's what was said.
No, immediately, John, Catherine, and Regina leave the dining room.
Yeah.
They go into the kitchen and they confront Angelo. And they start yelling at him. But then 1 minute later, Toby and Adriana,
Yeah, I guess she's there too.
Base comes in and she's like, so we all hear you yelling.
Except for Daphne.
Except
so
for
you might
Daphne.
as well include us.
Yeah, all the hearing people hear you yelling, so you might as well include us.
Access.
Access. Thank you. And Angelo immediately confesses.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
you're right.
What happened was,
So what happened was he was engaged. And
which
one
Regina does not like hearing.
Yeah, she makes a little face.
Yeah.
A little jealousy face. And one night, they don't say when this was, which bothered me, but we'll get to it. He was engaged, and one night he was celebrating his engagement.
It's probably like his bachelor party or whatever.
Yeah. And his friend admitted to sleeping with his fiance. And Angelo was really drunk, and he beat up his friend really badly. And the next morning, he ended up in jail. The friend that he beat up, that friend's father was the prosecutor, and he was out for blood, so Angelo had to flee the country. So he creates a false passport under the name Adam Sorrento.
So he commits more crimes.
So he commits more crimes, so he can get a work visa, and he flees to America.
Yeah. To Chicago, I guess.
Yes.
To his sugar mama situation.
Is that part true, though?
Well, if we are to believe that part.
So we know that he's been missing for 2 years. Are those 2 years in Chicago?
Yes.
Okay, that's what I think, too. Anyways, that's what happened. Regina is immediately on his side.
Yeah.
She's like, well, we can get him a good lawyer that's going to help him stay. I don't know. If you're a fugitive, that's really hard.
Yeah. And Angela's like, well, all my money is tied up in the salon.
And she's like, great, we'll sell the salon, which does not work out later on. She tries to call, like, the landlord, and the landlord won't let her sell.
Yes,
She's tied to the lease.
Okay, this is the second time in 2 episodes that she has tried to get out of this lease.
This landlord's like, I'm fucking sick of you.
Yeah.
You signed a contract. You're stuck for a year or however many years.
Right, because the first time the landlord was like, sure, I'll let you out of the lease. You just have to pay 1 month. And then clearly she went back and said, just kidding, I'll keep the lease.
This landlord is sick and
And
tired.
that was like last week. That was like 1 week ago.
Yeah. So that's done. Angelo's out.
And then John and Catherine are talking, and John is like, I'm so angry. I could just call and have him deported. And Bay's like, if you do that, I will never forgive you.
Mm-hmm. Don't snitch to immigration.
Don't fucking snitch. But you know what? John may be cheating on his wife, Kennish, who likes to play at the golf club and ignore the caddies. He would fucking snitch.
He would. This tracks with their character.
Yeah.
I don't think Catherine would call,
No.
but John would. It was just very timely considering the events going on. I just was like, oh. Anyway. Yeah, Regina calls to try to get out of the salon lease, and the landlord is like, fuck you, you're stuck. Basically, we don't hear this call,
No.
but this is my assumption.
And Daphne overhears her trying to do this.
And she's
is
like, so why do you care? Why do you want him to stay?
And then she realizes that
Immediately.
they're like back together.
Yeah, Regina's down bad for him.
She says, I never fell out of love with him.
Ooh, yeah.
And then Bay just like fled and went to Emmett's dad's place.
And Emmett is like, well, I understand why John and Catherine want him out of the picture. He is a felon.
Yeah.
No, assault and battery is not a small crime.
Yeah.
It seems pretty serious. Your parents are trying to protect you. Says Emmett, who was just recently arrested. But it's very different. Vandalism is so different. And also, he never fled the country.
I feel that if Emmett were smart, he would have simply said nothing. She's pacing so much, I'm like, he is definitely not catching everything she's saying because she's not signing all of it.
He should have just done what he did several episodes ago. Sat and ate a sandwich.
Yeah. That was the problem. He didn't have an emotional support sandwich.
Exactly. But then Bay turns it into...
Yeah, she's like, don't like attack my dad. What about your dad?
Yeah, she blows up at him over his dad and girlfriend, who is trying to mate them like they're giant pandas.
I liked that.
That was a funny line.
That is sort of how it felt.
Yeah, and they have a giant bong that's the size of the Space Needle.
Very judgmental about the bong.
Very judgmental.
The bong
They're
is
not
fine, guys.
They're not forcing you to smoke it.
In fact, it's good for parents to smoke weed. It chills them out.
Yeah.
Let them relax.
Let them relax. Being a parent's stressful. And Emmett, to his credit, I think is like, okay. And he kind of pacifies her. He's not going to fight back about Emmett yelling at him about his dad and girlfriend.
Yeah, that doesn't seem to bother him.
He's just like, okay, whatever. And then Bay's like, that's it. We're not having sex tonight.
Well, because do you think his motivation for being like, okay, I'm going to ignore you attacking my parents, let's just kiss and make up, is so that they can sleep together?
Yeah, probably.
And then she says, if you think we are sleeping together tonight, you are higher than your dad. Girl, what is your problem? You need to smoke a little and just like relax.
Yeah, she needs to smoke a little. I know. Then
Yeah.
Daphne is exterior driveway.
Exterior driveway.
We haven't had exterior driveway in a bit.
I know. I was so excited.
Yeah, she was angrily dribbling a basketball.
Wilkie
And Wilkie
shows
shows up to apologize.
I kind of love that there's so much going on and Wilkie's like not looped in at all. And
Not
he's just
at all.
like, is now a good time for us to talk about our relationship?
Yeah. Daphne accuses him of lying about the scoliosis story, and he's like, no, girl, that's true. I had surgery.
Yeah, and she just blabbed it to Toby.
And he's like, well, no one knows about the story because you're the first person I told that story to. Because I like you and I trust you. Also, I really like you. We're good together, like ketchup and eggs.
Do you like ketchup on your eggs?
No, but my wife does.
Okay. See, I don't and Paolo does.
Yeah, so not everyone gets it.
Yeah.
Just like them. So that's beautiful. But he's won her over. She's smitten again.
Yeah, they basically kiss and make up, and then she's like, hold on 1 second, let me go confront my bio dad about his maybe affair.
Yeah.
Because literally the next scene, she's just like, hey, John, don't deport Angelo.
Yeah, she was like, don't deport Angelo because he makes Regina really happy.
Yeah,
How does
why
she
is
know
she-
that?
Yeah, first of all, she doesn't. But also, like, why is she saying that in defense of her mom? Don't deport Angelo because he's Bay's dad.
Yes. And John says he doesn't have a choice. Does he not? I was thinking maybe he doesn't have a choice and that it would affect the hospital lawsuit if he kept it a secret. If he knew and kept it a secret. But he could also just talk to his attorney. Like, please don't call ICE, basically. And he's like, I don't have a choice.
Yeah, you definitely have a choice, John.
You do, John.
And
You're
he
fine.
exercises that choice because then he doesn't, for the record.
That's true. And then Daphne goes, okay, so who's Sarah Lazar? Are you guys fucking?
She says, and another thing.
And another thing. And John goes, so Sarah is writing a book about the switch. Again, another person from the Kansas City Herald wants to exploit the family and write a story about the switch.
I was kind of confused. Do you think they were just like, we gotta get this other random reporter character out of here?
She comes up later in like the future seasons.
Okay. I just feel like we're spending a lot of time with employees of the Kansas City Herald.
Yeah, I don't know. But basically, Sarah is writing a book about the switch. So, because he doesn't want her to compete with Catherine. She has more sources and whatever.
Which, if I were a reader, I would way rather read the book written by the person it
mother.
happened to.
The mother.
Yeah.
And not some random journalist.
Especially not some random journalist who covered it unsanctioned.
Yes.
Like,
Unauthorized.
if no one else from the story is going to talk to her either.
Yeah. Daphne is not convinced by John's story.
Yeah, and then she really crashes out.
Yeah, she vents to John about like losing faith in the ideal of a perfect family. She was denied a perfect family unit growing up. And I think she put all these expectations onto the Kenish family.
Yeah, and then she says, basically, I'm just waiting for you to screw up.
I got a new dad, and I don't want him to be a loser like Angelo was too.
Fair enough.
But then John says this really sweet thing. He was like, I'm not perfect. I'm going to make mistakes and disappoint you. But I'm not going to lie to you, and I'm not going to leave.
Yeah, some really good acting by D.W. Moffat.
Yeah. And this makes Daphne cry, and they have a sweet hug. Really good scene. This really heals something in her, I think. That was nice. Good job, John.
Yeah.
No deporting, and you're nice to your daughter. Good job.
King.
Then Bae goes to Angela's apartment. She's hopping around the city tonight.
Yeah, she's really on
But
the
he's
loose.
gone.
He's gone, and the door is visibly kicked in.
And she immediately goes back home and confronts John and Catherine. She's like, where the hell is he? Did you guys turn him in? And they're all arguing. And
Exterior driveway.
then exterior driveway. And all are stunned when Adriana,
She jumps out of the shadows.
and it's like, I turned him in.
It's me. Like, that's literally her. She steps into the
So
light.
if you can't find... Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Angelo has been expelled from the Garden of Eden. I really like this episode. Also, Adriana's such an underused character. So it was nice to finally have her do something.
Her villain arc is here.
I love it. Daphne also had a good episode. No, I think she's free from the despair that's been looming over her head these past few episodes. And she's having fun with Wilkie.
Wilkie was used quite well in this episode, too, to lighten the mood. I think any episode where Daphne is cry acting is a good one. She's
is.
really good at that. Why do we think Bae is so weird about sex?
I think she's just a virgin and uncomfortable, and she's not ready.
Yeah, I feel that she's definitely not ready. But it's like a really big plot point for her character throughout this whole season.
No one
There
is
was that-
making you have sex at 16.
No one.
You guys
no
don't
one
have-
should be.
No, it's really not necessary.
Yeah. Because, I mean, that was like a huge plot point with Ty.
I know. But he
Where
was also
she-
older.
Yeah, and she was like trying to...
Catch up, I guess.
Yeah. I think that if Bae wants to have sex, she absolutely should. First of all, Emmett's a cutie.
Yeah, but...
Second, now she has a safe space to do it.
yeah,
Like, where
great.
it's not going to be like, you know, because, yeah, when you're a teenager, I mean, as gross as it was for Olivia to be so, like, forward and kind of pressury about it, I do think that her heart was probably in the place of, like, I don't want you guys having sex in a car somewhere in the, like, somewhere random. Like, that feels unsafe.
Yeah, it could be
For-
dangerous.
Yeah, it could be dangerous. Like, you could be, like, people could see you, what you could get arrested, whatever. So I think that she's in the right for giving them that space. And I feel like if Bae wanted to take advantage of that, she should. But I really feel that she is not ready.
Not in the slightest.
No. So I hope that she accepts that about herself soon. Also, there are other things that
That's
are
so
not
true.
penetrative sex. Like, you can
This was the
have
same thing
other
with Ty.
experiences.
This was the same thing with
Yes.
Ty. Like,
Yes.
when they didn't have condoms, they were like, well,
they
there's
just
nothing we
stopped?
can do.
Yeah.
No real voting. We didn't get this far yet with the shows. They said there's only one type of sex.
I guess so.
And it's
honestly.
penetration.
Well, I do, like, when I think about, like, all the media I consumed, like, for teens about sex, it was always just, like, they either had sex or they didn't.
Yeah, and there's
And
always
it's-
penetration
It's
or...
like, guys, sex is a spectrum. There's
God,
all kinds
yeah.
of things you can do.
Yeah.
And as a teenager, you should not just jump right to the main thing.
No,
You should do all the things.
that's why there are bases.
John knows all about this. Bae should know about this.
Right.
Her father should have imparted that baseball wisdom to her.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that makes me worried for her. But I don't know. I'm glad Regina got laid just because, like, Angelo and his gorgeous abs. I feel like she was kind of happy.
Yeah. Okay, cool.
You're like, I don't have anything to say about that.
No, okay. I don't really care about Regina's feelings.
Me either. But for me personally, I feel that I would like to see Angelo's abs more.
Right. That's fair.
So I'd like to keep him in the show. And also not have him in ICE custody.
Yeah, that's messed up. Fuck ICE, guys.
Yeah, fuck ICE. We don't really talk about politics on this show because we record so far in advance that, like, who knows what nonsense is going to be going on in the world when this episode comes out in 3.5 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
But this will remain relevant. Fuck ICE.
Yeah, fuck guys. Bye.
Bye.